Don't just live for tomorrow, or just live in yesterday. Just be glad for all you have that's in today.
Hey everyone, Connie here, and welcome to my blind reaction to My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Season 8, Episode 15. So yeah, this episode is technically the new one that was released this past weekend. Because Episode 14 was, it aired early in Australia, so a lot of people already had seen it. Myself included, I recorded my reaction to it beforehand. I only put it out on Saturday. Excuse me, I'm just messing around with the focus and everything. Oh, crap. But yeah. So, we're getting to the actual new episode from this past week, this past Saturday. And hopefully it's better than the last, because episode 14 was crap. And upon further thought about it and watching it again, it's my least favorite episode of the season so far, and the only one I'd actually say I hate. It pisses me off so much. And apparently I'm not the only one. I've heard other people complain about it too. Misanthropony, for example, he stated in his review all these problems it had. And granted, he mentioned other ones that I didn't think of, and some of the ones he mentioned I necessarily wasn't as against or whatnot. But for the most part, we did agree. One of the biggest things he said, was that it was boring, and that was never one of the things I'd say to describe it. He also said, he talked about, how it was so against Discord's character, the way he was acting, which is also completely wrong, because it's not against Discord's character at all. It's actually perfectly in character for him to act like that. What is actually true, though, is that he hasn't been acting like that for a while now. He's actually been getting a little better. But it's that seems to happen with Discord. It's he has maybe 1 or 2 episodes where he's a little better, then he goes completely downhill again. And it's why he's one of my least favorite characters in the show. He's so poorly written. But yeah. As for this episode, there is one thing that I know. It's unfortunate. I was kind of spoiled on it. Yeah, I know that this episode is a heartwarming episode. I don't know the context in which the episode takes place. I don't know, exactly what it's about or what characters it's going to focus on. But I do know it's a heartwarming episode. And here's the thing. That both excites and worries me. Because it excites me because that was on my wish list for the season. I love the heartwarming episodes. They're usually great fun. But that's also why it does worry me, because they usually are, and we've kind of been overdue for a less than stellar heartwarming episode for a long time. Because out of all the heartwarming episodes we've had, the only one that really didn't stick with me as being great is the first one, the Heartwarming Eve episode. Back in, I think that was Season 2. That was the only one so far out of all the heartwarming episodes we've had that has really just not been that good. And so we've had all of these good ones, and it's we know that there's going to be a bad one coming at some point. There has to be. Statistically, it's very likely. Now, I don't know who wrote this episode. I don't know the writer. I don't know, again, who it's going to focus on. But I am interested to find out, and I really hope that they do something good with it. Especially after this last episode, if we have 2 really bad episodes in a row, that's gonna really suck. It's gonna really suck for this season and everything, and this season hasn't been that bad. I know some people, some, especially the very strict and, kind of obnoxious in some ways. Reviewers will often say, like, oh, this season's been crap. The show hasn't been good since season 3. It just kept going downhill. And it's like, I hate it when people say stuff like that. And they're allowed to think that. I will never say that they're not allowed to think that. But at the same time, I hate that they say that kind of stuff, because it's like, one, it's just, I don't see how they could believe that. In no way is that anywhere near true, from what I can tell. Every season has just continuously been great. And it's just like, I mean, again, if you think that, that's fine. Think that all you want. It's completely all right. Don't just because I don't understand, like, what you're talking about with that, doesn't mean you can't think that. But the reason I hate when people say that is because it's like, there's a lot of people out there who are just completely negative, like, all the time now about the show. And it's like, oh, the show's gone to crap. The show's not good anymore. These episodes are terrible, and they're just proving my point. And it's like, then why are you watching? I'm sorry, but if you don't like the show anymore, if you're not enjoying it, if all you're saying in your reviews or whatnot is that, oh, this show's crap, this episode's crap, this season's looking like it's going to be crap, then don't watch and don't review the episodes. Because if you're going to do nothing but be negative and you're going to not even like the show, then you have no reason to even watch it. Seriously. If you're not enjoying something, stop watching it. It's as simple as that. And if for some strange reason you do want to continue watching it despite disliking it, then don't make reviews about it. Because people aren't going to want to watch your shit if all you're doing is bitching non-stop. Again, you can have whatever thoughts on the shows you want. That's perfectly fine. That is completely up to you, and if you don't like a show, I'm not saying you're wrong for not liking it. But if you're not going to like a show, then don't watch it. It's stupid and completely illogical to continue watching something that you don't enjoy. That's why on this channel, I do the complete opposite. If I'm not enjoying something, I will drop it. I don't care how highly requested it was for reactions. I don't care how popular the show is. If I'm not personally enjoying it, I don't have a reason to continue. And I won't. But either way, the point is that there's a lot of people out there who will say like that about all of this, but season 8 has been pretty great so far. So that's why it was so harrowing by how bad episode 14, A Matter of Principles, was. We started off this season with 2 episodes that I would give a 5 out of 5 rating to. Both parts of School Days were fantastic. And yes, our next episode after that, The Mod Couple, wasn't that great. It had a lot of issues. But then we went straight back up to near the top with Fake It Till You Make It and Granny's Gone Wild. And it's kind of fluctuated a little bit. Like every now and again there's a bad episode like Surf and or Turf. But then it's followed by more good ones like Horseplay and the Parent Map, a bad one, Non-Complete Clause, more good ones, The Breakup Breakdown, Moltdown, Marks for Effort, and The Mean Six. So we had like 4 straight episodes that were all great before we got another weak one. But it was not just a weak one, it was terrible. Like I said, the worst of the season. I gave it a 1 out of 5, and that was only because I felt generous. Because there were a couple things that I did like, such as Trixie's role in the episode. There were a couple jokes that fit, and Starlight, like, blasting Discord like that was so nice. But yeah, it's just like the season's been as great as it could be, really. I mean, yes, it could have been better. There could have been a lot less of the weaker episodes already, but still, every episode, every season has weaker episodes. Either way, we should probably get this started. So, as I said, the only thing I know is that this episode is heartwarming focused. I don't know anything else about it. I don't know the specific plot, how it relates to heartwarming, what characters it focuses on, etc. So when the screen fades to black, pause this redirect and go to the description below. Follow the link to the reaction, and after you watch it, come back here to the redirect and resume play. Because after it fades to black and then fades back in, everything from that point forward will be my afterthoughts and will contain spoilers to the episode. So that being said, thank you all so much for tuning in today, and I will see you at the reaction. Okay, and we are back, and we'll begin with spoilers in 3, 2, 1, now. So, looks like I didn't really get what I was worried about. We did not have a bad heartwarming episode. In fact, I'd say this is one of the best. One, it develops our students a little more, which is something that is definitely always needed. They are kind of side characters right now, and giving them more development and character as we go along is big. On top of it, I liked the concept of this. I like that the entire mystery about who did it, and then how when they're trying to figure everything out, they start telling each other stories about their traditions and how they celebrate the holidays. Even if those holidays are different for the different species, which makes sense. It makes sense that they would have all these different holidays and celebrations and styles and all. But we find out eventually that not all of them are so lucky. Gallus and the Griffins in general have a holiday during the winter, but as he put it, it's basically when the Griffins are nicest to each other, but all that basically means is they're not actually fighting. It doesn't actually mean they're being nice to each other. Now, the Griffins, with the help of Gilda and I guess even Gabby to a point, but also with being introduced into pony culture a lot more, they're going to be getting better at all of this, but it does take time. And I like that too, because I know that there are going to be some people out there who say like, oh, but Gilda was going to work to bring friendship into the Griffin lands. Why are they still not being friendly with each other? It's like, because it takes time. It's not an instantaneous process. Yes, she's going to help. Yes, Gabby is probably helping as well. But it's going to be a long effort. For a culture that is so steeped in being greedy, self-centered, and kind of jackasses, they're not going to be able to change their ways that quickly. It's going to take a lot of time. It's going to take a lot of effort. So yeah, it's not going to be just all better yet. I like the pacing of this episode was really well done. It was handled well. It didn't feel too fast, but it didn't feel slow either. Everything worked out in the way it was handled. I like the way that Twilight and Rainbow did handle the situation as well. The way they did it was very mature, very smart, and honestly completely fair. Some people might say that like, oh, why would you punish all of us for the actions of one? It's like, this is one of those situations where one of you did it. We know that for sure. And if no one's going to confess, then we still have to deliver out a punishment for the actions taken. So if one of you doesn't confess, you're all going to get punished for it. And that makes sense in this situation. Now, there's a lot of situations where that kind of thing doesn't work. A lot of like bigger, more world situations where it's like you can't blame or punish the many for the actions of the few. And I stand by that. But in a smaller, more confined situation like this, it's necessary, because it's the only way to really handle it. It's like, yes, you're punishing some for actions they didn't take, but you don't know if they didn't take those, who didn't. You don't know who took the actions and who didn't. So it's when it's only like a small group like that, and when you're specifically in charge of them, like the fact that you're specifically their teachers and whatnot, you have to be able to make this decision. Plus, the punishment was like yes, it's a pretty sucky punishment, but it's not that terrible. It's not that detrimental in the long run. So yeah, there's a lot to unpack with that. Gallus choosing to do all of this because he wanted to stay with his friends longer and because he wanted to spend the holidays with them, like, that's really sad, but also, like, it's kind of happy at the same time because it shows how much he does care about them and how much he values spending time with his new friends. But at the same time, it's, like, really sad to know that it's, like, he's afraid to want to go back to the Griffin Kingdom because he doesn't want to be miserable over the 2-week break. It's like, jeez. And the sad thing is, I've known people, I've had friends who were like that when it came to real life school. When we went on winter break for the holidays, I've had friends who actually were afraid of that, who actually wanted to stay in school. And that might sound surprising, like, it's like, oh, what kid actually wants to go in school? One, you'd be very surprised by that answer. A lot of kids actually like school. And two, there are kids who actually have a really terrible home life. And because of it, they actually look forward to any time they can get away from it, and that includes at school. So when it's a break from school, like a 2-week vacation for a holiday, yeah, they don't want to go home and be miserable. They'd rather stay in school. They'd rather do homework. Or, well, not homework, but you know what I mean. They'd rather do schoolwork and sit there doing some, like, boring stuff, but at least they'd be safe, and at least they'd be, happy to some degree. And it sucks that there are people out there that make their children's lives that miserable to where the kids do feel that way. And I mean, like I said, it's gonna take some time for the Griffins to change, but it's really sad that it's still like that. And that it's ever was like that in the first place. So yeah. This episode was filled with great character moments, a lot of great developments for our students, and just a really fun, entertaining story that got some feels, like, legit. This was definitely a good episode. But tell me in the comments below what you thought. Did you enjoy it as much as I did? How quickly did you figure out who the culprit was? And what did you think of the different cultures and how they celebrate the holidays? And I know it's August, but because of MLP's airing schedule, they usually air the Heartwarming episode in the summer, so don't even worry about that. But tell me your thoughts on all of that stuff and more in the comments below, and thank you so much for tuning in. For now, I'm Connie, and I'm signing off. See y'all next time.
And though you've come through many obstacles, shed tears along the way, you're still standing, live, love, laugh.